Welcome to the Bringing Business to Retail podcast, where I, Selena Knight, share strategies, interview retail revolutionaries, and delve into the minds of e-commerce experts to help you grow a profitable, independent retail or e-commerce business. If you're stuck in a rut, or if you feel like business is way harder than it should be, or you've overachieved all of the things that you've set out to and are wondering what to do next, or how do I even make this better? I know that you're going to love today's episode. If you're stuck in a rut, feel like business is way harder than it should be, or you've achieved all of the things that you set out to and are wondering what next, or how do I even make this better, then I know that you're going to love today's episode. Hey there, and welcome back to the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. It feels like it has been so long since I was behind this microphone recording a brand new episode for you. I've been behind the microphone quite a bit lately because I've been appearing on a lot of other shows, but in terms of the Bringing Business to Retail podcast, we've had a few months off while we took a step back. We reflected on what we wanted the podcast to do, what we wanted it to say, and the kinds of guests that we wanted to bring to you. And this all came about because we hit the point in the business where we'd achieved a lot of our goals. And it's not like you just wake up one morning and go, oh, I've ticked everything off. It was just this general creeping up that there wasn't an awful lot there was not an awful lot of big picture stuff that we were striving towards. And this came about, I did talk about this a couple of months ago when I went to Retail Global, just being around people and having those ideas being sparked and meeting new people and hearing about what other people are doing. It made me realize that I was thinking really small and I'd hit a lot of the big targets that I'd set. So I gathered the team together and we went through the same process that we would take a branding client through. Now, not in terms of what our logo or our fonts or anything like that look like, but what is the core of our business? What is the message that we want to get across? Who are the people that we help? And what do we want to help you with? How do we want to change the world, basically? And some amazing things came out of that. I am so excited. I'm also super scared because these visions, these goals, these missions that we have put in place are massive. And big goals can be really, really scary. And one of the insights that we had as a result of going through this process was the fact that we cannot fulfill our vision alone. We need to partner, we need to collaborate with other business owners that have people like you. Because at the end of the day, the more people we can get in front of, it means the more businesses that we can help turn into scalable, profitable assets. And one of the other things that came from this exercise was really trying to embrace who we are and not holding back because maybe it's a little bit outside of the norm. So we came up with our core values, and one of those is bold. And here is the statement that we created around being bold as our value. We're not afraid to ask the hard questions. We're not afraid to be outspoken and honest. And as visionaries, we think big and we encourage our clients to do the same. Thinking small is against our rules. We believe done boldly is better than done perfectly. That was one of our little business statements that we came up with, and I absolutely love it. It embraces everything that we believe in, which is the perfect segue to today's guests. Speaking of bold and outspoken and helping people build profitable, scalable assets, you are going to love today's brand new guest, Seiler Tucker. This woman is a force to be reckoned with. She is the founder and CEO of Seiler Tucker Incorporated and has sold over 500 businesses to date. Now, not only that, she has a close rate of nearly 99%. And on average, she manages to get her clients 20 to 40% higher selling price. Now, maybe you're not even thinking of selling your business, Maybe it's tickling the back of your mind and you think, maybe one day I'll sell the business. But Michelle and I are on the same page when it comes to building an asset that is both scalable and profitable and that you can take to the bank and will be able to borrow money against. Or in this case, you can take it to someone like Michelle and sell it for way more than it's worth. Now, a lot of businesses really get stuck, and Michelle digs into this into the episode. A lot of businesses get stuck when it comes to selling because they haven't addressed the 6 Ps, and Michelle's going to tell you all about that inside this episode. And too many business owners, both in my experience and in Michelle's experience, end up closing up their business and not getting anything for it. Now, I don't want that for you, and Michelle doesn't want that for you. So whether you're thinking of selling soon, or maybe it hasn't even entered your mind about selling your business, I really think you should listen to today's episode, because the strategies and the tools and the tips that Michelle gives you are going to set you up, regardless of whether you're going to sell or not. They're going to set you up to build that profitable, scalable asset that not only fills your soul, but it fills your bank account as well. I would love it if you could let me know what you think of this new style of interview. We're digging really into the stories, the behind the scenes of successful retailers and entrepreneurs to give you that bold, hard-hitting advice and inspiration that I am certain that you are looking for. So make sure to head over and leave me a review on your platform of choice and let me know your takeaways from Michelle Seiler Tucker. Hey there, Michelle. Thank you so much for joining me. I've actually been really excited. I've done so much research and listened to several podcasts that you've been on recently, because you are talking about a topic that is so very dear to my heart, which is business owners being able to build a profitable, saleable asset that they can walk away from at some point and exit rich. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Selena. Thank you for having me. Thank you for doing extensive research.
Oh, look, if it's about making money, I love to do research. So tell me, you are one of the top closers or the top closer? Let me get this correct, because I don't want to undervalue this.
Well, I mean, says who? At Xerox, when I used to work at Xerox, they're the ones who nicknamed me the closer, because everyone, every time somebody can close a deal, they're like, get Michelle Seiler Tucker to do it. She can close it. She can close anything. So it's hard for me to label myself and say I'm the top closer, but I do have about a 98% closing rate on all offers I write. So I say my closing rate's pretty high up there.
I think you are well qualified to call yourself the top closer. So let's just tell it. So you just talked about Xerox.
I'll let you call me that.
I am going to take the mantle and say, today we have the USA's top closer to talk to you about how you can build your business to be able to sell it and exit rich. So, yep. Michelle, tell us, you just mentioned there Xerox called you in when anything needed to be closed. So how did you end up working at Xerox?
Well, I've always been an entrepreneur. I was actually working for Xerox. I did decide to go to work and get a job at one point.
I think we've all been there.
And I was actually working for Xerox's competitor, and they could never beat me. They would come in with their men in suits, with 6 men in suits, coffee, donuts, and it was just me. No suits, no coffee, no donuts. And they could never beat me on any deals. And one of the suits actually went to college with my husband, and they went to lunch one day, and he's like, yeah, this girl keeps beating us. And my husband's like, who's that? And he goes, Michelle Seiler. My husband goes, Michelle Seiler Tucker? That's my wife. And he goes, and his name was Bill. And he goes, we need to recruit her. So they ended up recruiting me. And within 6 months, my nickname became the closer at Xerox.
Wow. Yeah. How did you even get into this world?
Into what world?
Into the world of buying and selling businesses.
Yeah. So I worked at Xerox. I was at Xerox for about within 6 months, my nickname became the closer. And then my supervisor came to me and she said, look, there's a regional vice president's position that just opened up. It's a huge promotion. It's over 100 salespeople. She says it's a 3-month rolling process, interviewing with all the high level executives around the US. And she says, you're never going to get it, but you should do it for the experience. And I'm like, why would I waste 3 months of my time for something I'm never going to get?
Yeah.
She says, you're not going to get it because Xerox's policy is 2 years. You have to be here 2 years before you get promoted. And you're up against people who have been here for years and years and years. And I said, so why should I do it? And she said, because of the experience, you will learn more through this experience than anything else you've ever done. And she was right. I mean, I went through a grueling process of Q&As, doing presentations, demonstrations on Xerox high level equipment, high volume equipment. And it was a grueling process. I ended up getting it. They ended up changing their policy for me.
Oh,
and I ended up beating all my friends, which they hated me afterwards. And then I realized after I got it, I really didn't like it.
Oh, no.
Because I love sales. I love helping people. I love solving problems. I love coming up with solutions. I love building relationships that last a lifetime with my clients. When you're in management for a Fortune 500 company, you're just having meetings to schedule more follow-up meetings. And it's so paper intensive and reporting intensive. And you're not really making any difference. You're not really solving problems. So anyway, I was looking I was going to keep my 6-figure great position because I was climbing up that Xerox ladder really quickly, but I missed entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurship is in my blood. So I started looking for a company I could buy. And my husband knew someone that owned a franchise that had a couple of locations. So I approached him about buying a franchise and operating it on the side. And they said, no, we know of you. We know of your reputation. We want you to partner with us and we'll give you a franchise.
Wow.
So I said, well, I'm not going to leave my Fortune 500 company 6 figures with benefits for a company that has a couple of locations. You're not successful, And they said, I know, that's why we want you to partner with us. And I said, look, I'll try it for 6 months. I'll keep Xerox. I'll do it weekends, evenings. I'll fly to trade shows. I'll host events. I'll do all that. So I literally was working 80, 90 hours a week.
Yeah.
And I made more money in 6 months than I made for a whole year at Xerox. And I realized that was the right move for me to make. So I ended up, after I beat all my friends and I ended up leaving 6 months later. And so then that's what started my franchise sales, franchise consulting, franchise development career. And then I had so many buyers kept asking me for existing businesses. And I said, well, we don't have existing businesses. We have new franchises. And so I kept saying, no, no, no. And I'm like, you know what? I need to be saying yes, yes, yes. Law of the universe, law of attraction. Yes, yes, yes. So that's really what prompted me to start my M&A practice. And then I transitioned out of franchise sales, franchise development, franchise consulting, and transitioned full-time into M&A.
So when you partnered with that business, did you buy into it? Did you get shares?
No, I did not buy into it. Yes, I got shares, but I did not put up money.
And do you still have anything to do with that
my core competencies? No, because I learned after being in business with them for a few years that our values do not align. They like to overpromise and underdeliver. I like to underpromise and overdeliver. So I had them buy me out. Right.
I was going to say,
but I did still continue my franchise sales development consulting business, working with other franchisors.
And so one of the things that you and I were just talking about before we jumped on is your love for, you call them private businesses, I call them independent businesses. But what made you decide that this was a market that was just untapped?
Well, it is untapped. I mean, there's 30.2 million businesses in the United States. At any given time, 30 to 40% will be up for sale. There's maybe 3,000, business brokerage, M&A firms, investment bankers, 3,000 to 5,000. Whereas you got millions and millions of real estate agents, it is untapped. I think it's still untapped. That's not really why I got into it, is because it's untapped. I got into it because for my love of entrepreneurship, my love of business, and my love of, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I can't wait to find out how someone started their business with an 8th grade education, selling products out of their pickup truck. It's now a $70 million company.
We have an affinity there. That's me too. I love it. And I love just getting in. And I feel like this might be one of your superpowers as well. I say that one of my superpowers is being able to just look at a business, and usually within a couple of minutes, I can see where they are, where they should be realistically, and then the steps that they need to do to get there. Is that something that you can do as well?
Of course. I've been doing it for over 20 years.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
I've been in M&A for over 20 years. I personally have sold over 500 companies. My firm has sold over 1,000 altogether. And we don't just sell businesses. We specialize in buying, selling, fixing, growing. I buy businesses and flip them. I'll partner with business owners, investing my time, energy, effort, capital to put them on a build to sell plan and go in there and fix a business. So absolutely, I've been doing that for a long time. And that's what Exit Rich is all about. It's not just about selling your business. It's about building a sustainable, scalable business. So when you're actually ready to sell, you have a sellable asset. Because like Steve Forbes says, 8 out of 10 businesses will not sell. 80% of businesses that are up for sale will never sell. And Steve Forbes endorsed my book, Exit Rich.
I have to agree there. I work with a lot of businesses. I've worked with a few, nowhere near as many as you. I've worked with a handful of businesses where we specifically work together to put the business in a position to sell within the next 12 to 18 months. And it's a very different strategy when you have that short-term plan, knowing that you're going to sell. But you were just saying there that you partner with business owners. So you're like the Stay and Sell, the Netflix TV show where the real estate agents put their money into the house. Have you seen that?
Yeah, but no, it's more like Marcus Lemonis on CNBC called The Profit.
Oh, we don't get that here, but every time I go to the US, I watch that.
I don't really compare me to any real estate show.
Oh, just in the sense that they partner with the owners to actually build something that people want to buy.
Yeah.
And so when people come to you and say, I want to sell the business, what is the first thing that you look at?
Oh, the first thing I look at, oh my gosh, there's so many. I don't think there's a first thing I look at. I take them through the 6P process. I take them through the GPS exit model to see, take their temperature to see what their desired sales price is and how realistic are they? Because most business owners are not realistic. They want $20 million for a company and their EBITDA is 100,000. And the price is not based upon the value of the company. It's based upon what they need to retire on. So we really look to see how realistic they are, take them through the seller sanity check, take them through the GPS exit model. I take them through the 6Ps. Obviously, we get into the financials and dig deep into the financials, but we're also digging deep into their synergies because buyers buy synergies.
Oh, there's so many things I want to talk about there. The 6Ps, the synergies. But but I want to start with the money first. You said that quite often they just pluck this number out of, this is the number that I need to retire on. So
yeah, because their price. So everybody has a price in their head. Sellers have a price in their head when they come to us of what they want to sell their business for, based upon what they feel like they need to start their beginning strategy.
Yeah.
So what they need to retire on, what they need to travel the world, what they need to, how one guy say, I got $5 I have to put through college and pay for 5 weddings. I had one client say, I want to buy an island, so it's all based upon what they need. It's not based on what they think they need. It's not based upon what the worth or the value is of the business.
And I think that's a problem that many business owners fall into is they actually don't know how to value their company.
They don't know how to value the company and they don't look at the value of their company. They look at what they need or what they think they need. And that's how they come up with their value. So it's very unrealistic. We have to bridge that gap. We got to see how far we are from true value versus what they want. And then try to get them to understand and educate them on how businesses are evaluated.
Do you tend to find that people when they come to you or when they start thinking of selling, they're not actually ready to sell? The business itself is not actually in a position where somebody else will just walk in and take it?
Well, absolutely. That's why 80% of businesses don't sell because buyers business owners don't build a business that someone wants to buy. That's why 80% will never sell. So you got to build a business to meet the buyer's specific criteria and go walk through the GPS exit model. So that's why 80% of businesses don't sell.
Why do you think people never think of that end point? People never think of, 80% of business owners never think of one day I'm going to sell this business.
Actually, 100% never really think of it.
I think you're right.
20% just get lucky.
I think unless you've literally bought a business in to flip it and sell it with the sole purpose of flipping and selling it like you do, you're probably right. Probably 98% of people never actually think of that end point. Why do you think this happens? Why do you think that they start a business with no end in mind?
Okay, there's a lot of reasons for it. First and foremost, mindset. They treat their business as their baby. versus treating our business as a valuable asset. And, like I always tell my owners, your business is not your baby. You got babies at home, go home, hug them, kiss them, love them, work on your business, build your business because it is your most valuable asset. And that's the biggest issue too, is that business owners get stuck working in the business instead of working on the business. And many of them have just created a glorified job in which they go to work at every day versus a business that actually works for them.
Oh, we say that all the time. First of all, the baby thing is, let's be honest, if you've got kids, they get away with a lot. Your business should not be allowed to get away with what your kids get away with. Your business is there to make you money.
And neither should your employees.
Oh, well, that's an entirely different conversation.
but they really need to change the mindset and treat. It's kind of like your portfolio. If you got a financial advisor, right? Mm-hmm. You got your retirement fund, your stocks, your bonds, whatever, your whole portfolio fund. You're treating that like a valuable asset, right? Mm-hmm. Treating that like a valuable asset, making sure you put money in, make sure you have the right people managing it, etc. But you're not doing that with your business. The problem is they just get stuck working in the business. They get stuck working on a day-to-day task. They feel like they have to control everything.
Oh, we call that, they got to have their fingers in all of the pies.
They have to have their fingers in all the pies, and they feel like they have to control everything. And you will never grow unless you let go of the control. Mm-hmm. You will never grow unless you let go of the control. So that's how we, take our clients through the 6 P's. I mean, the very first P is people. And the number one reason a business owner, there's 2 reasons that businesses are not sellable. Number one, the business owner never thinks about their exit. They never think about selling their business until a catastrophic event occurs, whether that's internal or external. Internal, health issues, partner disputes, divorce, death. External, this pandemic, And the worst time to sell your business is during a catastrophic event, but they never think about selling their business until they're forced into selling. And we just had a sweet little old lady call us a couple months ago, and she said, my husband dropped dead of a heart attack, left me with a mountain of debt. I know nothing about the business. I know nothing about the finances. Can you sell it? He had no employees. He had subcontractors. All the data was in his head. When he died, the business died. So every business owner should be planning for the sale of their business and setting not only themselves up, but especially their loved ones for success.
I mean, if nothing else,
because that story happens again and again and again and again and again.
And I think that is such a poignant point to make, which is you may start your business because you're passionate about something, because you're passionate about helping people, you find a niche in the market. But if you were going to put all of your time and effort and money and resources in, do you really want to leave your family picking up the pieces because you couldn't step up and take charge? That, if nothing else, I think a lot of business owners, especially the ones that we work with, they're with their caregiver archetype. So they really want to help people. And so they forget that by helping their customers, if they're not doing these things that you're saying, they're not helping themselves and their family. And you can't, it's that face mask at the airplane, isn't it? It's, you got to put your own mask on before you help others.
Yeah, Southwest Airlines says, save the child you like the most. Put the mask on the child you like the best first.
So that big slap across the back of the head where people have just listened and gone, holy crap, I need to do some stuff. Whether I'm going to sell this business in 6 months, 2 years, 6 years, 60 years, I need to start getting my crap in a pile and making sure that this works. So tell me, we just talked about the first P, which was people. So you've got to have good people, I'm guessing, in your business, but also outside of your business.
Yeah. And one thing I like to do is walk your listeners, because it makes more sense if I do it this way first, if I walk you through the GPS exit model.
Please do.
And then I'll take you through the synergies.
Okay. Sounds great.
Okay. So the biggest mistake that business owners make is they're not planning their exit. And I work with my owners to really plan their exit. So Selena, if you want to drive somewhere in Australia, you pull out your phone, you go to Google Maps, and what's the first thing you plug in?
The address.
Your destination, right? You got to know where you're going. What happens if you don't plug in a destination?
Probably getting stuck in a lot of traffic. Well,
You're,
you're going to
you're,
get a lot of obstacles, aren't you? Because you
you're
have
going to
no
get a
idea
lot
where
of
you're going.
obstacles. You don't know where you're going. You're going to drive around in circles. You're probably going to run out of gas.
Yeah.
And same thing with a business. They don't have a destination.
Mm-hmm.
So they drive around in circles. They go drive up and down the financial hills. Business owners don't plan to fail. They fail to plan. So they drive up and down these financial hills, ended up nowhere, ending up broke, ended up selling for pennies on a dollar, ended up, closing their business, or even worse, filing bankruptcy. So you got to start with a destination from day one of starting your business or buying a business. Like Stephen Covey says, start with the end in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So pick a number. I tell all my clients, pick a number. And they always get hung up on a number. Don't get hung up on the number. You can adjust your sales along the way.
Yeah.
So let's say you want to sell for $10 million. Great. There's a number.
And they worry
There's a
about the
number.
how, do you find? They really struggle with that end number because they think, how am I going to get there?
Well, I'm going to tell you how right now. So you got $10 million. That's your destination. I just picked the number for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what does a GPS model need to know? After it knows its destination, it needs to know where it's starting from.
Yep.
What's your current location? In other words, what's your current evaluation? What is your business worth today? Now, most business owners never get a business evaluation. It's shocking to me. It's financial suicide.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to a business owner the other day, been in business 40 years, has never had his business evaluated. So we go to the doctor once a year to make sure we get an annual checkup, to make sure our heart's still ticking, we're still kicking. We drive a car to
I was going to say,
the
get your car
dealership
serviced. Yep.
to get our car serviced, but we don't take our most valuable asset and get an annual valuation checkup. There are events that increase valuation. There are events that decrease valuation every year.
I have to admit, who would we see? I reckon one of the reasons people don't do this is because they don't know that they should, and they don't know how to do it. Who do you see? Is it your accountant?
No, don't go to your accountant. I've had accountants tell business owners, you can get 4 times gross revenues or 5 times gross revenues. And clients coming to me and say, my accountant told me that. I'm like, well, let's call your accountant on the phone and tell them to buy your business because nobody else is going to pay you a multiple of revenues. There's one industry that gets a multiple of revenues, and that's SaaS. Every other industry is a teeny tiny percentage of revenue, but it's mostly a multiple of EBITDA. So not your accountants, because they don't really deal, some of them might do a little bit of valuations, but it's really not their core competency. Plus, they don't know how to value synergies.
True.
So you really need to align yourself with a firm like ours, Seiler Tucker, or an advisor, an advisory firm that specializes in this. We specialize in valuations. We specialize in evaluating synergies.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to align. I mean, we have clients to get an evaluation, and every year they get another evaluation from us. It's an evaluation checkup. And we give them a reduced cost every year for just getting a checkup, and it's not just a checkup on the valuation. It's a checkup on where they are with the 6 Ps too. And it's also 5 years of projections. So it's a lot of information that we give them. So you really should align yourself with an advisor that can do this and has a tremendous amount of experience doing this. And so every year you need to know what your business is worth. So let's say you want to sell for 10 million as your destination. Your current valuation is, let's say it's 2 million. Now the next thing the GPS needs to know is time frame.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, let's say you want to do it in 10 years. You want to sell for $10 million, you're worth 2 million. You want to sell in 10 years. Now, what does a GPS exit model need to know? Who your buyer's going to be. Buyers, not buyer. So I have clients that call me all the time and say, Michelle, I have a buyer. I just want you to represent me with that one buyer. And I'm like, nope. And they're like, why not? And I'm like, because there's a less than 10% chance that buyer will actually buy your business. Something's going to happen, due diligence, it's going to fall apart, and you have no backup buyers.
Can
you
I
always
just jump
want to
in
have
there,
backup buyers?
Michelle, I have sold my business, and anyone who is listening, yes, how many fell through? You get so excited because it was the first business I'd sold. You're like, yes. And then 2 months in, it all goes pear-shaped. And so then you have to go back to the next person and do it all over again. So I love this concept of buyers, not just one buyer. And I'm forever seeing, when I'm in business forums, people saying, where do I sell my business? But they've never thought about who, it's like marketing. Who is your target market and where are they hanging out? So Can we just dive into the buyers part a little bit more?
Well, we are. Right now, we are.
You're still going. I just had to jump in.
So anyway, yes, I always tell my clients, No, we're not going to put all of our eggs in one buyer's basket because the likelihood of that buyer closing is slim to none. We always want backup buyers. Plus, we're going to set up the data room with all the due diligence. So if this buyer falls apart, we don't have to start from scratch. We already got it all there. And then how can we maximize value if we have one buyer and we can't create competition with one buyer?
Yeah, exactly.
So you need multiple
it's just like
buyers.
the auction at a house. You
Right.
need to have multiple people interested.
You need to have multiple buyers. Now there's 5 different types of buyers, and most people don't know this.
No.
5 different types of buyers. So you're trying to sell your business for $10 million. You need to figure out which types of buyers will buy your company for $10 million. 90% of buyers in America are first-time buyers. They don't buy $10 million companies. They buy small businesses, pizzerias, coffee shops, restaurants, gas stations, dry cleaners. Then you have the second type of buyers, a turnaround specialist. They buy distressed assets.
You don't want to be a distressed asset.
No, and they're not going to give you $10 million.
Yeah.
Third type of buyers, PEGs, private equity groups. They buy 2 ways. They buy based on platforms and add-ons. So a platform is, say they want to get in food manufacturing, and they're not in food manufacturing now. They won't even consider your business unless you have at least 3 million and up in EBITDA. EBITDA is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization. 3 million and up. Now, let's say they're already in food manufacturing and they're looking at a spice company, a seasoning company. They'll consider add-ons under $1 million to add to their existing platform. But platforms have to be an EBITDA of 3 million up.
Right. Okay.
Then your fourth type of buyers, strategic/competitors. They typically pay the highest multiple because they're paying for synergies. And they're looking for those synergies that will catapult their current business to the next level, whether that's contracts, patents, trademarks,
Customer database,
employees, databases. And we'll get into proprietary in a little bit. And then they're also looking for economies of scale, how they can take advantage of economies of scale and decrease overhead with the business that they're buying. Plus, they also look at infrastructure. They look and see, okay, what can I cut? What can I cut? Oh, I have distribution all over the United States. So I can cut this distribution center that cost me $5 million. And that just increases EBITDA.
Yeah.
Well, that's why strategic competitors will many times pay the highest multiple.
Do you find, can I just jump in there? Do you find with the business owners that you work with, is there a block against selling to the competitor? Like, I've worked so hard to build this business, I am not going to sell out to my competitor. Is that an obstacle that you come across?
Companies are very cautious. Business owners are very cautious to selling to their competitors because their fear is the competitor's not really a real buyer and they're just trying to get their information and compete against them. So there's a big fear about that. We handle it very differently. And a lot of times we are providing information that is very generic and not giving anything proprietary away. Why we can feel them out and make sure that they're a real buyer. Plus, we'll make sure that they sign a non-compete.
Right. Okay. All right.
Fantastic. So we handle that with kid gloves. Okay. The fifth type of buyer is serial entrepreneurs, sophisticated entrepreneurs. They're industry agnostic. They chase cash flow.
Yeah. They're the Richard Bransons. Just how is it going to make me money?
They're the Richard Bransons. They're the Warren Buffetts. Correct.
Yeah.
All right. So those are your 5 types of buyers. So then you want to reverse engineer your GPS exit model and say, okay, well, if I want to sell for $10 million, because you asked earlier, what's the how? Where's the how?
Where's the how?
Yeah. So you need to know the numbers. If you want to sell for $10 million, you really got to know where the numbers are. Where does your gross revenues have to be? Where's your COGS have to be? Your operating expenses. Most importantly, where's your EBITDA have to end up at? Your EBITDA needs to be between 1.5 and 2 million if you're going to try to sell for 10 million, depending upon your synergies. So how do you get those numbers? Easily. You call somebody like me and I tell you exactly where your numbers need to be. And then I also have a build to sell, road to sell program that we put our clients in to show them the how.
I love that. And isn't it amazing once you know that number, like you were just saying, let's just say it's the $2 million EBITDA. Once you know that, you now can focus on getting to that number. It's not just this running on the hamster wheel of hope and hoping that you make enough money, hoping that you have enough customers, hoping that the economy doesn't change. You actually have a focus. And once where focus goes, energy flows.
Yep. More focus goes, energy flows. I used to say that all the time. I haven't said it in a while. So thanks for bringing it back.
I probably heard it on a podcast that you were on because all that research I was doing.
So now that you know your number, now that you know where your numbers need to be, you need to now figure out, well, these 3 types of buyers that are interested in buying my $10 million company, what synergies do they look for? What
I'd
are
love to know more about that.
what are their negotiables? What are their non-negotiables? What is their specific criteria? Now, this is how you build your business based upon their specific criteria with the synergies. So they'll be interested in paying top dollar for your business.
Isn't it funny that most, and you tell me, because obviously you deal with so many more business owners than I do, most business owners think that the only value that they have is good old goodwill, which is, it doesn't exist anymore, the stock that they carry, and their customer database. But what you're saying is there is so much more out there.
There's so much, and goodwill does matter.
Does
goodwill
it?
does, absolutely.
Oh,
who's telling you that goodwill doesn't matter?
Well, I think it's since we moved online a lot more, customers they have so much choice and they're a lot more fickle. So building loyalty is a lot harder than it used to be.
Yes, it is. So let's get into those synergies. Oh, one more component in the STGBS exit motto is your why. Yeah. Why do you want to sell a business for $10 million? If it was easy to sell a business for $10 million, everybody would be doing it. Yeah. So you got to have a strong enough, power enough why to keep you in the game, to keep you motivated, to keep you weathering the financial storms, to keep you, roughing through a pandemic like this. So it's got to keep you in the game.
Is that we both talk really fast and your brain's working as fast as mine. So sorry if I keep talking over the top of you because my brain's trying to keep up. Is this concept of, you're talking before about the client that you had who had the 5 daughters and the university and like the college and the weddings, is that enough of a why, do you think?
Yeah, I think that is enough why. It is enough why. The thing about it though is they want it now. They want instant gratification. They want to sell that business for $20 million today because something happened in their business and they feel like they have to sell now, and that's their number. They're not going to get that number unless they build a $20 million company.
Yeah. Okay.
Makes sense.
Totally.
But yes. I once had an owner I was dealing with that wanted to sell his business between 15 to 20 million. And he had a really powerful why, probably the most powerful why I've ever heard. His wife was diagnosed with a debilitating disease, a skin disease, and there's no cure for it. And he wanted to sell for enough money to help support her, the family. They had 3 small children, 3 young children, not small, but young. And he wanted to help find a cure.
Wow.
So that's a pretty powerful
That's pretty
why.
powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when you have that why, it's kind of like it's the focus that we we're talking about before. When you have that drive and you know that end point, it just makes everything so much clearer, and it just makes everything so much more achievable because you know where you're heading. You know why you want to do it. You've got a mission. Yeah.
Got a mission. So anyway, so now you want to
synergies.
Now you want to build a synergy. So the first P, so this is what the 6 Ps are. They are synergies. Mm-hmm. The first P, and this is the infrastructure. This is your foundation. Every business should operate on all 6 cylinders and all 6 Ps. First P is people. The number one reason why I already told you the number one reason that businesses don't sell is because business owners don't plan their exit and they don't build a business that someone wants to buy.
Yeah.
So people, the number 2 reason that businesses don't sell is because the business is 1,000% dependent upon the owner.
On the owner. Yeah.
The owner is in the business. The owner is working everything in the business. And you take that out, you take the owner out of the business, there is no business. We have a dentist that wants to sell. One dentist, been in business 50 years, 3 dental hygienists. 3 dental hygienists are his daughters. Wow. And I said, look, I can sell your business, but we can't maximize value. You're going to have to stay on. You and your daughters have to stay on for 2 to 3 years
and train.
And the purchase price will have conditions in there contingent on on the 3 of you staying on, 4 of you staying on. There will be clawbacks. There will be earn out. There'll be different things that mitigate their risk. And he said, honey, we're not staying. And I said, well, then, honey, you're not selling because the minute you leave, your patients leave.
Yeah.
And so that's the mindset of a lot of these business owners. They think that they could just sell and leave. And that's so wrong. If the business is dependent upon you, you have to stay. So what we're trying to do is get business owners to build a business that will run without you. Business owners have to focus on their strengths, hire their weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
They have to work on the business, not in the business.
Yeah.
And they have to put the right people in the right seat. You don't build a business, you build people, and people build a business.
Yeah.
You have to put the people in the right seat. And you have to ask the who question. Who opens the doors? Who handles customer service, marketing, legal, accounting, manufacturing, logistics, quality control, environmental? The list goes on and on. You need to write a name next to it. The clue is you should never be next to the who.
Yeah.
Because you want to build the business that runs without you. Plus, you need a layer of management. There's companies that want to sell for 10, 15, 20, $30 million, and the EBITDA supports it, but there's no management team.
Mm. And what I've found, and I'm sure you found this as well, is that these business owners, the reason they don't have all of these things is because they started the business because they loved the thing. They loved, making pizza. They loved making coffee. They loved fashion, whatever it was. And so they probably never really thought of it as a business. They always just thought of it as a job. But quite often it's a really crappy job because you don't get the holidays and the sick pay and the benefits and all the things that go with it.
Sometimes you don't make any money. Sometimes you don't get a paycheck.
Sometimes you don't even get a paycheck.
Sometimes sometimes you gotta take money out of your savings to keep it afloat.
Exactly.
So,
but when they start to make money, and this is where quite often where I get called into businesses, when they have made some money and now they're a little bit stuck because, like you were just saying, there needs to be a management team and they're not sure where they need to be on that team because they're so used to working in the shop. They're so used to packing orders. They're so used to making the pizzas. They have no idea where they fit in. And they quite often feel adrift because you said this right at the beginning, as you went up in management in corporate, it was just meetings to schedule meetings. And they tend to feel like that when their business starts to grow, they're like, but I'm not working on the shop floor anymore. I'm not packing, like, what's my job?
Yeah, well, that's where they really have to take stock, and they might need an expert to help them figure this out. They really got to take stock in what their core competencies are. It's not making pizzas.
No.
What is their core competencies? I always say every owner, every entrepreneur should keep a diary for 30 days and of everything you do from the minute you get up and brush your teeth to the minute you go to bed. And then you take that diary and you put it in buckets, bucket A, bucket B, bucket C. Bucket A are those core competencies that only you can do, that nobody else can. Everybody can make a pizza, okay?
You can train someone to make a pizza.
Figure out your core competencies. For me, my core competencies that I had to figure out, and you don't always figure these out right away, but was writing, and the way I figured that out is because I hired a ghostwriter and it was the worst experience of my life. I told them all these stories and case studies and everything, and they got everything wrong every time. And it was a colossal waste of my time. So I said, you know what? Nobody else can write like me. Nobody else can write my books. Nobody else has my voice. Only I can write my books. Only I can write, my content. So that's my core competency. My podcasting, that's me. That's really my core competency. Marketing, the face of the business, and then also negotiating large deals and interacting with the large clients, $50, $100 million clients and up. Mm-hmm. That's my core competencies. I can't really delegate that.
No.
Bucket B are those things I'm really good at: evaluations, writing prospectuses, so many things that I can delegate to my team of analysts.
So you have enough knowledge of them to be able to build the processes so that they're doing it the way that you want it to be done.
And then bucket C are those things that zap your energy, because what we're talking about right now is energy management, not time management. Those things that zap your energy, like running
social
errands,
media,
going to the grocery store, social media. I don't go to the grocery store. Some people might get offended by that, but I don't really care. I don't go to the grocery store because that's a total waste of my time.
I don't clean my house.
Cleaning my house, mowing the lawn. Even at my office, there's different things that I'm not going to do. So those are tasks that you really should figure out. What is my time worth per hour? Is my time worth $100 per hour? Then I can afford to pay somebody $15 an hour to do this job.
Yeah.
Is my time worth paying somebody to answer the phones because it zaps too much energy from me? And that's what people have to figure out. And then that's when you can really get more crystal clear on what you should be doing to work on your business. A lot of entrepreneurs are visionaries, but the problem is they lose their vision and they stop coming up with new ideas because they're stuck in the middle of the chaos.
Well, I've just
stuck in the middle of putting out fires.
I've just talked to Mark C. Winters, the author of Rocket Fuel, and he talks about visionaries and integrators. So we're just lining him up to come on the podcast. So if this concept of visionaries is a little bit strange to you, don't worry, we're going to cover it really, really soon.
You need a vision. Yeah. So the business owners are visionary. And I just covered this on a podcast I did yesterday. You have to have an integrator.
Got to have an integrator.
And, that's the traction program, but it doesn't have to be traction. You need a good integrator that can integrate your vision. So what should a business owner do? They should get out of making pizzas. Yeah. They should get out of cleaning orders. They should get out of working in the business. They need to be the visionary, working on the business, growing the business.
Yeah.
My husband's a perfect example of that. He has 3 chiropractic clinics. He doesn't adjust. He has a management team, but he works on the business, growing the practices. And
so that's you still can't love what you do.
Yes, but you got to get crystal clear with what your core competencies are, because when you get stuck in the day-to-day and you get stuck in putting out the fires, when you're in your fog, it's foggy. And then you stop creating, you start coming up with all these ideas because you don't have time.
And how much more exciting is it when you wake up every morning knowing that you can do the thing that you really enjoy doing?
So much more exciting. I mean, I find myself in that, in that spot sometimes too, where I get so bogged down with stuff and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Why am I doing this stuff? Now y'all go do this stuff. I'm growing the business. And I really think the ABC bucket test is a good exercise.
I love that.
And everybody should do that.
Yeah.
All right. So the second P is product. Now, let me give you some history. When I wrote my first book, Sell Your Business for More Than It's Worth, in 2013 and did the research, I learned that 95% of all startups will go out of business.
Scary.
So 1 to 5 years is the most risky, but that's common sense. That's common knowledge. Everybody knows that. But here's what you don't know, which is even a lot more scary. So when I wrote Exit Rich in 2019 and 2020, I did the exact same research and learned that the business landscape has flip-flopped. It's changed dramatically. Only 30% of startups will go out of business now. Only 30%. Startups are not at great risk. Wow. Existing businesses are at great risk. Out of 27.6 million businesses in America, those businesses that have been in business 10 years or longer, 70% of them are at risk of going out of business. 70%. The media talks about the big public companies all the time. Toys R Us in business, 75 years, goes out of business. Kmart, Steinmart, Pier 1. Godiva is closing down 1,500 locations. GNC is closing down 900 locations. Disney stores going out of business. I just named like 10. There's hundreds, but they never talk about the private businesses on every street corner, in every town, in every state across America. These private business owners are dropping like flies. They're exiting poor. They're selling for pennies on the dollar, closing their doors, or even worse, filing bankruptcy. When you file bankruptcy in America, you don't just lose your business assets. In most cases, you lose your personal assets too, because most business owners make the mistake of piercing the corporate veil because they commingle assets.
Yeah.
So the number one reason why these businesses are going out of business and the landscape has flip-flopped is because business owners stop doing what I call AIM. AIM, always innovate and market. They stop innovating.
Yeah.
They stop marketing. They are so married to their original concept that they just stop creating, and are also so busy in the day-to-day that they stop innovating.
Yeah.
Blockbuster did this. They saw Netflix. They did nothing. They had the opportunity to buy Netflix. They ended up out of business. Toys R Us changed nothing in 75 years. Yeah. They did nothing to innovate.
It surprises me how we have the clothing store H&M, when they came to Australia, no online shopping.
Yep.
Like, how can a global business like that, not have e-commerce?
Yeah. So product is your product, your industry, your service. Business owners need to ask themselves, is my product, my industry on the way up or on the way out? Is it thriving? Is it dying? Do I have an Amazon and I'm in my prime? If you have an Amazon and you're in your prime, you need to sell.
Yeah.
You always want to sell in your prime or to have a blockbuster. I'm about to go bust. And I always tell my business owners, if you're about to go bust, it doesn't mean that you just go home and close up shop and file bankruptcy. You really got to pivot. And, I always tell them to ask themselves 3 transformational questions. Amazon did this in the 90s. Amazon asked themselves, what business are we in? And every business owner should ask themselves, what business are we in? And Amazon said,
retail was not their business.
No, Amazon's business was book orders, fulfillment of book sales. That's what they did, book sales, book fulfillment. And then the second most important question is, what do we do better than everybody else? What is our core competency? What is our USP, our unique selling proposition? And Amazon said, we're better at fulfillment than everyone else. And every business owner should be asking themselves right now, what is our core competency? The next obvious question is, what business should we be in? Should we be in? And Amazon said, we should be in a fulfillment business, fulfilling products for everybody, not just books. Those 3 transformational questions transformed Amazon from a small bookseller in the 90s to the multi-billion-dollar worldwide conglomerate that they are today.
Yep.
So product is huge. Also, don't put all of your eggs in one product basket. That's why so many businesses went out of business during this pandemic, because a restaurant has a restaurant. They make money one way. Somebody comes in, eats their food, or gets ordered, or gets food to go. That's how they make their money. What about e-commerce? What about selling recipes? What about selling cookbooks? What about selling, something that's proprietary to your restaurant online?
Yep.
What about having Zoom wine tastings?
I was going to say one of the companies here did virtual gin tastings where they sent out the pack and then they did like a cocktail class online.
Well, Commander's Palace did that in New Orleans. Commander's Palace did a wine and cheese tasting with sommelier, and they sold packages of $150 to $500, and they would deliver it to your house. But anybody could join from anywhere around the world and just go pick up wine or cheese, and they could participate. And it was like this huge party because Commander's Palace asked themselves, what business are we in? They said they're not in the restaurant business. They're in the business of creating experiences. They're in the experience business.
Yep.
And that's why they created that wine and cheese experience, which still kept them alive during this pandemic.
All right. People, product. I knew
processes.
Processes. Yes.
Processes are like exit strategies. Nobody thinks about them until something bad in their company happens. And they're like, oh, we need a process for that. We had an employee get hurt on the manufacturing floor. We were selling a company, and they actually lost an arm.
Oh, no.
And lawsuits were, oh my gosh, my owner got slapped for so many lawsuits. And then he had to file bankruptcy and said, Michelle, we need a health and safety process for the manufacturing floor. And I'm like, you're a little late for that. And I looked at him like, what are you talking about? You're late. So processes need to be thought of from the beginning of buying or starting your business. Obviously, you always want to keep your policy and procedure manuals and add to them on a daily basis. But here's where most business owners get it wrong. Most business owners design processes around their own agenda, around their lifestyle business. You see chiropractors, you see doctors do this. Our hours are Monday through Wednesday and Friday, this time to this time, They're not scheduling around the customer experience. The customer can't even get in there during those hours. The patient can't even get in during those hours. You need to design your processes around your customer experience. McDonald's. Did you ever watch the movie The Founder?
No.
You need to watch that movie. Put that on your
down.
List.
Yep.
The Founder. So the McDonald brothers started McDonald's back in the 40s or 50s. And they said, we want to design a fast food restaurant, fast food system, because nobody had one back then. And they said, we want to design our processes around the customer experience. We want our customers to experience great tasting food that's hot, fast, 30 seconds or less. They knew what their customer experience was. They designed that 40 to 50 years ago. Even though it's been tweaked along the way, you can eat at McDonald's anywhere on the road and pretty much get the same experience.
Yeah.
They can also hire someone within 30 minutes and have them working the drive-through, have them working the counter. Have them cooking burgers because they have SOP checklists and they have their processes.
Yeah.
Have you ever dealt with a company, whether a bank, social media, retail, where you have a problem? You go to call, push this number for 1, push 2 for this, push 5 for this. You get a person on the phone, you tell your story. Oh, I have to transfer you. And you got to tell your story all over again. And this happens over and over and over again, right? How many times have you been so frustrated when you've hung up and said, it's the worst experience of my life?
And what a waste of my time.
And what a colossal waste of your time. And does it make you want to do business with them again?
Never.
No. And does it make you want to tell everybody else not to do business with them again?
100%.
So if you want to create raving fans and loyal clients, like you mentioned earlier, the way to do that is to create your processes around your customer experience. And then do you know, so most business owners don't even know what they want their customers to experience.
I do know that, but most business owners don't even know what they want.
So business owners have to start asking their clients, what do you need? What do you want? How can I make it easier for you to do business with us?
Yes.
How can we, keep you happy? And here's the bottom line. If you don't keep your clients happy, because consumers, whoever makes it easiest for the consumer to purchase products and services is the company that's going to win.
Yeah.
Amazon is winning because Amazon makes it so easy to practically purchase anything. You can practically order a horse on Amazon and have it delivered to your house in 2 days with no hassle. So business owners got to do the Amazon approach. They're going to have to start asking, what do you need? What do you want? How can I make it easier for you to do business with us?
Yeah.
How can I make your life easier? And that's how you create raving fans. That's how you get repeat business. That's how you get referrals. So your processes have to be designed with the customer experience in mind. They must be productive, efficient, and well papered. You got to have those policy and procedure manuals. When you go to sell that $10 million company, one of the first things buyers are going to ask for in due diligence is, let me see your PP manuals. Let me see your SOP checklist.
Because this is an asset. This is what people forget.
Yes.
Those manuals are an asset.
They are an asset. Let me see your employee handbooks. Let me see your non-competes. Let me see, your employee contracts. The company needs to be well papered, and most businesses are not. The policy and procedure manuals are outdated. They don't really have SOP checklist. So processes are huge. All right. So the fourth P is proprietary. So let me give you a quick crash course on valuations. Businesses that have under $1 million in EBITDA, now this is for a lot of industries except for SaaS, will typically trade anywhere from 1 to 3.5 times earnings, times EBITDA, depending upon the synergies. Businesses that have over $1 million in EBITDA will typically trade for 5 and up.
Wow. Okay.
Depending upon the synergies. So proprietary is a fourth P. It is the highest value driver. They can take you from a 5 to 6 to an 8 to 10 multiple, because buyers, remember competitors and strategics, what do they buy? They buy synergies, and so do pegs, and so do pegs. So there's 6 pillars to proprietary. Branding is number 1. The more well-branded you are, the more I can sell your company for, as long as your brand is relevant in the mind of the consumer. Is anybody paying any money for Blockbuster?
Nope.
No. The most valuable brand in the world is
Coke.
They're in the top 10. They're worth about $69 billion.
Oh, Lego.
But they're not the biggest. Who?
Lego.
No, they're not even in the top 10.
Oh, okay. No, I don't know then.
Apple.
Apple. Of course.
$359 billion. Amazon's in the top 10 too. $359 billion. That's just the brand. That's not cash flow, inventory, assets, real estate, accounts receivables. $359 just for the brand. $359 billion for the brand. So build your brand. Trademarks are valuable. Trademark your name, your company name, your slogan, your logo, your podcast, anything that's unique to you. Like that, I trademarked the ST6Ps, STGPS exit model. The biggest mistake though business owners make with trademarks, especially in America, I don't know about Australia, but in America, they go to GoDaddy, they get the domain, they get the .com, and they're like, yes. And then they go to their state and they get a state trademark to run their company, but they never check the federal database.
Oh, well, mine are all on the federal database in the US.
Well, you're lucky. No, you're not lucky. You're smart.
Yeah, I have a good lawyer.
You have a good lawyer. See, and that's another thing. Have a good lawyer. But here's the bottom line. I've seen companies be in business for 5, 10, 15 years, and all of a sudden receive a cease and desist letter. And then they have to stop using that company name. They'll hire an attorney, spend lots of money, but most cases they're going to lose. Yeah. And they have to start the branding process all over again. So do what you just said. Get a good lawyer. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You can go to the USTO website. What is it?
USPTO? TPO?
Yeah, thank you. Yep. Thank you. Say it again so the listeners here.
USTPO, trademarks, patents.
USTPO.
Yeah.
Look to see if it's available, but don't hire one of the online attorneys. Get a good attorney. It costs you like $1,500 to $2,000 to trademark.
Yeah.
And make sure you protect that. And then patents are huge. You know, if you ever walk Shark Tank, all the sharks always ask the inventors the same questions. Do you have a patent on this? Do you have a patent pending? Their offers are always contingent upon patents. You providing a patent. And, you know, we sold a business for 18 million that wasn't making that much money, but they had 18 patents. Contracts, very valuable. Manufacturing contracts, vendor contracts, distribution contracts, exclusive contracts, franchisor contracts, client contracts are the most valuable of all because buyers want to know that the business has recurring revenue coming in. So if you have contracts with subscription models, recurring revenue, buyers will pay more money for that. Here's the mistake that business owners make with contracts. In America, 98% of all sales are typically asset sales, not stock sales. And most business owners, I've never met a business owner that has done this right. They don't have the transferability clause in their contract that says this contract is transferable upon a new owner. Yes. So if the buyer doesn't agree to do a stock sale and the clients don't agree to sign consent to transfer, your whole deal could fall apart. I'll tell you a quick story. An M&A firm sold about, 15, 20 years. It was a long time ago. I was not the one who represented them. They sold to a private equity group. Private equity group had their legal team, due diligence team, do all the due diligence. They closed on the sale of the business. And then they realized that the franchise agreements were not transferable without consent to transfer. So then they're like, oh, shit, we messed up. They threw this big celebratory party, invited everybody to come and paid for everybody's lodging for 3 days, air for, days, and $1,500. I mean, it's been a fortune. Well, the franchisees didn't like the private equity group. They thought they were arrogant. They didn't think they had any experience, and they didn't want to transfer. One transferred over. None of the rest did. Private equity group was out of business within 90 days following bankruptcy. They sued their entire legal team and due diligence team and won because they didn't find it in the contract. So 1,500 consented transfers is a daunting task. You want to cross your T's, dot your I's, and get that transferability clause in your contracts now.
Yeah. And I'm guessing in retail, that also means things like those contracts with your suppliers. They've said that they'll supply to you, but there's no guarantee if someone buys your business that they're going to supply to that person.
That is correct. So that's part of due diligence. So you want to have those transferability clauses if you possibly can.
Wow. Can't say I've ever thought of that either.
That's right. People don't think of these things.
Yeah.
And then databases are huge. If you have nurtured your database and they can be retargeted, repurposed, strategists will pay a lot of money for that. Facebook paid $19 billion for WhatsApp. WhatsApp was hemorrhaging money.
Yeah.
They had a synergy that Facebook wanted. They had 1 billion users, and Facebook knew they could monetize an ROI on those 1 billion users.
Yeah.
Celebrity endorsements are big. We have a client that has products endorsed by Oprah Winfrey. Strategists will pay a lot of money for that. Celebrity endorsements, radio personalities are huge because the celebrity and radio personality can only endorse one vertical at a time. They can only endorse one skincare, period. One like Jennifer Aniston is on Aveeno, the face of Aveeno. You don't see her on the face of any other skincare line,
no.
And they can only endorse one vertical, one diet company, one skincare company. So once you got that prime real estate with that celebrity endorsement on TV or on radio, wherever it is, then nobody else can get in there.
Yeah. As long as that contract is transferable.
Well, the contract has to be transferable, but here's why strategic will pay more money for that. Because that strategic, if they get that relationship with that radio personality, and maybe they don't have a skincare line, but maybe they have a supplement line, and they want to get their supplement line in there. You follow me?
Yeah.
So they'll pay more money for that. Same thing with my e-commerce businesses. Whenever they can get the top 3 spots on Etsy, Wayfair, Modern, Amazon, eBay, that's huge.
That's what people want. Yeah.
Strategists will pay more money for that. So those are your proprietary assets that buyers will pay more money for. The 5th P is patrons. This is your customer database. In America, most businesses follow the 80-20 rule. 80% of revenue comes from 20% of their clients. So most businesses in America have customer concentration, and customer concentration is tough. We were once selling a media company that had 5 clients, only 5. And we're selling them for 10 million, and they lost 2 of the 5.
Whoa.
Revenues dropped in half, EBITDA dropped in half. They were no longer sellable.
Yeah.
Now they have 5 because they cater to casinos. They lost 2 casinos. So we had to merge them with another company. But on the flip side of that, we had a oil manufacturing company we were selling, and we were selling this company. I priced it for 9.8 million. They had customer concentration. 65% of revenue was tied up in the BP contract. Everybody was scared. I had 550 buyers look at it. They're all scared to death. I got 12 to give me an LOI, but the LOIs had clawbacks and, mitigating their risk, had some type of contingency plan in there if they lost BP. And this owner didn't want to agree to any of those LOIs. And then we finally found a strategic that had a similar product and service, and they had been trying to get in BP for decades and could never get in the door. So we're like, you know what? We don't care about the customer concentration. We just want MVP so we can get our products in there. So they said, well, bidding everybody else, they paid $15 million for 70% of the company, which was 126% more than it priced for.
And isn't that funny? It goes back to that conversation you had right at the beginning, which was always have more than one buyer.
Always have more than one buyer. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You never want to put all your eggs in one buyer's basket. And then the last P, the most important P, is profits. And, everybody's like, well, Michelle, why do you put profits last? Because profits are never the problem. Lack of profits are never the problem. They're never the problem. They're the symptom of not operating in one of the other 5 Ps. Clients come to me and say, Michelle, I have a profit problem. I'm like, no, you have a people problem. No, you have a process problem. You don't have a profit problem. If you operate on all 5 cylinders, you will be extremely profitable.
Yeah.
If you're not, you won't. It's that simple.
I love
those
it.
are your 6 Ps.
Fantastic. I think we're going to have to finish up there just because I knew this was going to happen. We talked for a very long time because you have so much information to share. We may have to get you back on at some point. I just want to finish up with one last question. Do you think that COVID has changed the landscape in terms of companies wanting to buy private businesses?
No, because in America, companies were always buying private businesses.
So you haven't seen any increase or decrease?
We've seen a huge increase. I mean, M&A is huge right now. I mean, there are so many transactions happening. There's a lot of public companies selling out to other public companies, but there's a lot of private sales, a lot of private activity right now in the M&A space. There's just so many buyers. I always say this, and it sounds simple, but I always say there's more buyers for good businesses than there are good businesses to buy. Once you get your EBITDA of over $1 million, that's when we can bring you so many buyers. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of activity right now.
Now, I know that you have the first book, which you wrote some time ago, which was Sell Your Business for
More Than It's Worth.
More Than It's Worth, yep. But you've got a new book. Is the new book out yet, Exit Rich?
So Exit Rich comes out June 23rd, but your listeners don't have to wait till June 23rd. They can go to exitrichbook.com right now, exitrichbook.com. They can buy the book for $24.79, which is less expensive than Amazon. I love saying that. And we will email them the digital download immediately so they can start reading it today. Let me give you a quick case study. I've had several owners call me and say, I read your book. It's the best book ever. But one in particular is a pharmaceutical company. And he said, Michelle, I printed it out. I'm using it like a workbook. I got highlights and notes all over it. I've incorporated it into my business plan. I've incorporated it into my exit strategy. And he says, there's things in here I never knew. This is one of the best business book I've ever read. And he says, I want you to help me build and sell my business. And we're probably going to sell his business. It's going to be worth around 30 to 50 million.
Wow.
And he is using my book as his blueprint to build his business. So you can buy it today, read it today. We'll email you the digital download. Plus we'll ship the hardcover to your doorstep for no additional shipping to anyone that lives in America. Sorry for those of you outside America, there is additional shipping. And then we will also give you a lifetime membership into the Exit Rich Book Club. Now, we will only do this before the launch date. The Exit Rich Book Club has video content, me doing deep dives in different strategies and techniques, plus documents to operate your business, documents to sell your business, sample employee handbooks, org charts, employee non-competes, sample letter of intents, purchase agreements, due diligence checklists, closing docs. All of these documents will cost you thousands upon thousands of dollars if you want your attorney to recreate. They're there for your review and your download. I just asked you to take out my name, Seiler Tucker. And a lady emailed me the documents the other day. She goes, "Oh, are these good? Can I use these?" I said, "Yeah, but take out my name." She goes, "Oh."
unless you're doing the business sale.
And so exactly. But she was doing it on policy procedure manuals and other things. And
That's
and then we also gave
generous.
Thank you. And there's even wait, there's more. We even give you a 30-day free membership into Club CEOs, which is an entrepreneurship mastermind where we ask those transformational questions, where we help business owners really build a scalable, sellable, and sellable business so they too can exit rich. All for $24.79. I think that's less than lunch.
I think that's less than lunch with a glass of wine, definitely.
Yes. Or 2 cups of coffee at Starbucks, somebody told me.
And so that's at exitrichbook.com.
Exitrichbook.com. My main website is seilertucker.com. And then follow me on social media. I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, everywhere.
All the places. Well, thank you so much for sharing this. This has been a wealth of information. I love it when we can geek out on making money and geek out on making people's lives better. But also just there's so many things that I learned as well that I hadn't heard in other podcasts. So thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. You're a very good interviewer.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. You can find all of the show notes over at selenaknight.com. If you found something that you heard today particularly useful, I'd love it if you could leave me a review on iTunes or Stitcher. And of course, feel free to share this episode with someone that you think could benefit by listening to it. Want more retail biz strategies? You can watch the Bringing Business to Retail TV show, where each week I'll answer a question or provide you with a simple, actionable retail biz strategy that you can implement in your business right away. If you have a question or a guest, I'd love to hear from you. Drop my team an email at podcast@selenaknight.com, and I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great week.